chat. Oh, and here's Ramon.
Hi, Ramon. Jackson, the way these workshops work, they're not so much instructive. So it's an interview sort of process, and then afterwards people ask questions. So that's the way it's going to go. Greg is going to ask a series of questions. I'm going to talk about my projects, and the focus will be the comic book industry and the freelancing artist and writer industry for mostly comic book creators, because that's what the group is for. So that's really the topic. And then at the end, if you have your own questions, that's your time to chime in, and we'll probably have like plenty of time for everybody to ask.
Yeah, I usually the interview portion goes for maybe like 45 minutes to an hour, depending, and then we leave usually a good half hour to 45 minutes for audience questions, as it were. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty informal the way these go. This originated as a New York City-based meetup group, and if the pandemic ends, hopefully it'll go back to in-person meetings. But oh, sorry, what's that, Ramon?
It's about half hour for interview questions, a half hour for audience questions.
Okay, yeah. What was I gonna say though? It's not like a very formal, like instructional kind of like here's how you make comics. But we will be asking Cristian a lot of questions about what his process is, how he broke in.
And I do plan to discuss at least one particular process beginning to end that I've completed recently for a client. So it's a commission project where I also have a kind of I have stake in the property as well. So I can discuss like contracts as well.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And Greg, you were going to remind everybody once we're started, like people should put their mics on mute.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it maybe like 5 minutes for people to start trickling in. But yeah, we're definitely we're going to want everyone's mics muted until it's time for Q&A, and again, we'll have plenty of time for other people to ask questions, believe me.
So Greg, at the end, just I'm gonna make some announcements, but at the beginning it's all yours, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Spanish?
Yeah, Cristian and I just spent about 10 minutes kind of briefing each other on how we want to get this going. Hello, everyone.
And Ramon, if you have to, because I know you said you might be teaching later, I just want to, like, if you have to, step out or something, just want to thank you for this opportunity, and it's really fun to be part of the group again.
I'm glad we finally got you on here.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Oh, Ramon, Cristian asked a great question. Would you like to record this, or are you recording this?
It's recording already.
Okay. Okay. Great. All right. Thank you, everyone who's coming in. We're gonna start in like 5 minutes. I think we're gonna give people time to join.
I don't have a background.
Yeah. I'll explain the origin of my background when this starts. Everyone always asks. Some of you might already know. Do you know, Ramon? I probably explained it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can explain it. It looks like a Liechtenstein, though.
No, but this is a creator who, one of my favorite issues, had a very fun kind of critique of Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein himself is not mentioned, but
Interesting.
You know who he's referencing if you see it.
Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Ramon, how many people RSVP'd?
20 folks did.
Oh, nice. Okay. So yeah, we're again just gonna give people a little more time to start coming in. There's Jonah.
Hey, sorry I'm a little late, guys.
No, it's cool. We're about 20 people RSVP'd, so we're gonna give it like 2 more minutes, I think, and then we're gonna get started. Yeah.
Do me a favor.
I'm gonna go put my smoke.
I'd love to hear your description of introducing the meetup group. Okay.
Okay.
How you interpret it? Okay. Okay.
Okay. Oh, like right now, or when we get started?
When we get started.
Okay.
I guess he didn't get a script.
I got the questions, but not.
We shoot from the hip here. That's how we roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love this because it totally still feels like the regular meetup to me. Yeah, it's just like kind of loose, fun, you know.
What was the last meetup before, like in-person meetup that we did before COVID? You're muted, Ramon.
That editor, Annie, I can't remember her last name.
It wasn't Ann Nocenti.
Yeah, I think it was Ann Nocenti was the last time.
Ann Nocenti, wow. I think that was, yeah, I missed that one.
No, Ann Nocenti felt like a whole year ago. I don't think.
Hold on, let me look it up.
Maybe you're thinking of a different editor. I mean, we definitely had Ann Nocenti. I just mean like, I think that was much earlier. She was great though. Hello.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for popping in.
All right. Yeah, more people are starting to come in, but if you don't mind, Ramon, it's 7:05. Oh, sorry, what's that?
Was it Lisa Hawkins?
Oh boy, yeah, I guess so.
I wasn't there. I had class that night, so
right.
I think it was, who was it? I think it was you and Chris who was doing it, right?
Yep. Speaking of which, I'm gonna text him. We're gonna get started in a moment. I want to text Chris now to let him know that I'm hosting tonight because I don't think he knows. All right. Okay, let's get started then. All right, you ready, Cristian?
No. But I am.
All right. Well, I'm gonna introduce myself and explain the group first. But before I get started, could everyone please? I see most of you are muted already, but please keep yourself muted until the Q&A portion. You're gonna have plenty of time to ask Cristian questions, but until then, it really helps the interview go more smoothly if we minimize background noise as much as possible. All right, cool. So yeah, my name's Greg, Greg Silber. I am a writer and editor and occasional critic. You can find my work at places like mostly The Beat these days, comicsbeat.com. I've also appeared in Panel by Panel magazine. Where else have I been? Shelf Dust, AIPT, probably a few other places that I can't remember. Oh, The Daily Dot, as well as making my own comics. And this group, it started as a place for New York City-based creators in particular to network and learn from each other about making comics. Great community that started, I want to say about 3 years ago now. almost 3 years exactly. And I've met amazing people like Cristian and Ramon, who founded the group, and Jonah Newman, who's here too. He and I actually collaborated on mini comic together. And now with COVID, I don't. Fortunately, doesn't sound like the right word, but one thing that we are able to do, being that everyone's forced to do everything remotely now, we can open up meetings like this to pretty much the entire world. Again, if you are looking for a community of like-minded people who are serious about making comics and learning from each other, we're not just here talking about Batman. We really, I love Batman, but this is really a group about learning what it takes to make comics and kind of stay in comics, as it were. Was that a good kind of breakdown? Ramon asked me to explain the group, and I wasn't really prepared for that question, but
That's pretty good.
Think about it a lot. Anyway, it's not about me. We are here to talk to Cristian S. Aluas. He is a Romanian-born Canadian artist and writer. He attended the Canterbury Arts High School at Algonquin College's animation television program, and majored in creative writing with a minor in art history and studio art in Concordia University in Montreal. I'm just going to kind of skip to some other parts here. He worked in the animation field for a couple of years, beginning in 2002, and he's been super prolific ever since. Like, seriously, he is one of the hardest working guys I know in comics or anywhere. He has had thousands of commissions, has been shown in private and city galleries, has published several graphic novels, as well as a novel. His original work can be found in the library archives of the National Gallery of Canada, in the Billy Ireland Cartoon Museum at the Ohio State University, and in private collections in the US and Canada. He currently lives in Upper Manhattan and enjoys creative pursuits, physical activities, and travel. Again, I'm reading from a script here, but seriously, you guys gotta check out his original creation, Big Boss, as well as his book, It's a Living, which is all about what we're going to talk about right now, which is what it takes to be a working comics creator. So I'll take it to Cristian if there's anything you want to kind of add to the intro.
Well, yeah, that sums it. I think I was mentioning before everybody arrived that bio is mostly for my fine artwork. It was kind of for a sales sheet that I was using. So I typically like add and take away things. But I've published 3 graphic novels with a character named Big Boss, who's an assassin. And the first time I published him, I was 18. I was still in high school. And then there was much later 120 page graphic novel, and then one that was serialized on Instagram that came printed to about 75 pages. I've even self-produced a short live action film with leading actors, like with live actors based on the character. And and then I wrote this book. I do have a couple on hand like that I could flash in front of you. But
if we were doing this in person, you'd have a bunch of copies with you and sign them for people to buy. Yeah.
I miss those days.
Well, you can still go to his website or order them from. I don't really want to encourage people. Find them in your local bookstore if you can, but they're available on Amazon too if you need that.
They're not in local bookstores.
Okay, but still, if for whatever reason they were, you should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Cristian. Thank you everyone for joining us. Let's get started. What can you tell us about your career path and kind of how that took you to where you are today?
Well, thanks again for having me. I really, I love this group, and I'm happy to like be able to share information and inspiration for artists that either are in the business uh, or that are starting out and wanting to learn this industry from a slightly comic book oriented angle. So my career initially started with comics. I published a zine styled graphic novel. It was 3 chapters while I was still in high school. My teacher snuck me and my buddy, because it was kind of a joint project, uh, into the teacher's lounge, and we used the teacher's copier. She printed 50 copies for us, and we sold them for $1 each. And I've been living off that ever since. So you can imagine. And then and that was like the first chapter, and then I compiled it on my own. And it was like, finishing that first project for me, while I was still in high school on my own, because the last chapters, my buddy who did a separate story in the original, he wasn't as motivated. You know how people are, like everybody's an artist when they're a kid, and then life happens, right? So then anyway, so I finished it on my own when I was 18, and it was like a huge deal for me because I was just all alone. I had moved out on my own, and I didn't really have a lot of external influences. And to save up my money and self-publish this, from kind of a flippin' burgers a job, and it was like a huge deal for me, kind of as a person, So it was character building, and so that started like that, and then I went through an animation program, which taught me a lot of life drawing skills. I was pretty skilled in high school because the high school I went to was an arts high school, so I had to apply for that, and then so I honed those skills. But I also learned screenwriting in that school because it was geared for television, so it was all like aspects of television production. There was a drama class. There was everything from character designs and animation production. But I wasn't as interested in animation. I still do some storyboarding projects now because I do a variety of freelance projects. So later, if you guys have questions specifically to, juggling a variety of different freelance projects and how to get them, because I do plan to like mention some tidbits on how to actually win projects later in this talk as well. So I went to that, and then I again, with the passion for creating comics, I thought, why don't I follow it up with a degree in creative writing and at the time I thought like I could make graphic novels like Will Eisner or Joe Kubert, where like they come up with this idea, often like based on real people, and I just wanted to be a better writer. So I added that in Montreal, and then I actually dropped out of university, so I didn't finish my degree, and I just started my career. I just came back to Ottawa, and this is in Canada, and the first 10 years of my career was all in Ottawa, and I struggled for the first 4. I was absolutely like way below the poverty line, dead broke. I mean, I used to have to walk 45 minutes in either direction. So if I saved money and I wanted paint, because I was doing a lot of fine art at the time, so there was like this there was a paint store, so I'd walk 45 minutes to this paint store with $20 cash. That was like all the money I had, and I could buy 4 gallons of color, different mismatched paint, and then I would carry 2 on each arm back 45 minutes, and then I have 4 colors. I would try to pick them as close to primary colors as possible, and then sometimes my dad would steal some supplies from work, like wood panels that I could paint on and things like that. He worked at a sign shop, and then and then in the other direction, I lived on Bank Street, so I would walk 45 minutes in the other direction to arrive at the Parliament building, because Bank Street went straight to the Parliament building. And then I, turn a right, and there's the market where there's some cafes that exhibit artwork, potentially sell. So I'd make a little photo album of my artworks and walk, because I didn't have money for a bus pass. So I walked the other way, and then I'd go into a cafe, and they tell me there's a 2-year wait list. And then so I just drop off my little photo album that I would spray paint with my initials. It was a fun time. You have no idea how much I miss those days. So to me, that was like setting the foundation. And then so, and then I kind of built my career. I started teaching. I later registered an art school. I had 2 businesses, a small publishing when I first started, and then a corporation that did business as Masterpiece Art School later, right before I moved to the US. So things were going well. And then I was kind of, at a certain point, I was just plateauing, and I was happy with the art school. I could have just really planted my feet in even deeper. But I decided to look for more opportunities in the US. And that's how I arrived, first in Vegas for 3 years, and then eventually in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like a struggle, but you say that you miss it, which I think is a really important thing for anyone in the creative arts to keep in mind. That obviously, struggling financially and struggling just to get your supplies. No one wants to go through that, but it's all part of the process of developing an arts career. One thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought maybe you could expand on. You mentioned that there was a teacher at your high school who gave you access to the teacher's lounge so that you could print these comics. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but when I was a kid, and even the 1 year that I worked at an elementary school in adulthood, teacher's lounge was it's like that little room in The Shining that little Danny Torrance is told not to go into. You absolutely do not go into the teacher's lounge. And so it must have felt really special to not just get permission to go into the teacher's lounge, but to kind of have this early recognition from a authority figure, from a teacher, to let you kind of grow your talent. How did that feel at that time?
That's an interesting question. Thanks. It helped. I mean, it definitely helped. I think that particular scenario, I felt like the teacher liked my friend a little bit more than me. She actually bought one of his artworks. So it was kind of, to be honest, that situation was through him a little bit. Although it was my motivation to publish the comic, so it was primarily that. And then she kind of she was, I don't want to be out of line, but I think she was kind of crushing on him too. He had that sort of a personality, more magnetic than me. Okay. But what was more interesting to me, well, for me, I think it's been a self-motivation thing that always, it helped. I had some encouraging words along the way, but maybe it's my personality or something, but I often battled with teachers. And actually, my favorite class in college, which was life drawing, the teacher hated me, partially because I was cocky. She had a method of drawing, and it was the one class that I signed up for. I was accepted to graphic design as well. And that was actually what I geared my portfolio towards for over a year. And then another friend introduced me to life drawing. And I thought man, I need to learn the rules before I break them. And that's the only reason I chose out of the two, animation. But anyway, she didn't like me because I was cocky. I didn't really. It's complicated to go into, but she wanted everybody in class to draw a certain way. I felt I was still drawing correctly, so I was ignoring her method, and she actually ripped my artwork in front of the class one time.
Oh my God.
But to my credit, I did. I still got an A both those years in that class, and she never held my work in class as an example, because usually they say like this is like where you want to be, so you choose the best. Never in the 2 years that I was there has she ever shown my work as an example. But my friend from high school that I published the comic with, he followed me the following year in the same college, and my work was in the lineup. So you win some, you lose some, but mostly lose some.
Yeah. Well, the people you meet along the way who hate you, I'm sure that's its own kind of motivating factor. And
it is, but I don't think she.
I don't mean literally hate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I was a different. I was a different person then. I think I had different, more negative influences. Now I think I'm a lot calmer.
That's good. So what's your process like now? Can you kind of walk us through what's like for you creating a comic from scratch to printing?
Right.
Give us a little step by step.
Well, I'd like to use one example. It's called camouflage. So if you guys are like by your phone or near the computer, you could go to camocomic.ca for Canada, and they actually have the PDFs downloadable for free. So that's a comic that I did recently for a client that it was a commission, but it's a client that's become a very good friend. So when you're a freelancer, you get lucky sometimes where you can really develop like great friendships and working relationships. And I can't think of a better one right now. So this project in particular, the author and the creator, he wrote it. He came up to me with the idea. I designed all the characters. He didn't know anything about the production. So I was essentially art director as well as a penciler and inker and letterer on the project. And the only thing I outsourced for was the coloring. And the process for that was all digital. I did it on an iPad Pro, a Procreate. And as a freelancer, you always show preliminaries. They make tweaks, and actually in this situation, because he hadn't had a lot of experience writing, I also helped with the script writing aspect. So I helped, like, not just like word editing, but even at early drafts, directing the story so it has like the right climax and the sequence of events, and not forgetting about characters that were introduced in the first issue to the second and so forth.
Yeah.
Bring like having that connectivity. So there were a lot of little nuances in that process, but I'm familiar with every aspect of it. Do you want me to talk about like the contract or something?
If you want to get into that, we can. You mentioned in the beginning that was something you wanted to bring up, right?
Well, yeah, I'll mention that because that's part of it. I don't know. Are some of you freelancers? Like, raise hands. And anybody like a freelance artist? Yeah. Okay. Writer. Okay.
Writer.
Right. So I was lucky with this because there's rates that you could find online for comic book art And the best rates are 500, around 500 a page for pencils and inks, pretty much. That's like the best rate. Only Marvel and DC pretty much pay that. Everything else is like starts, if you're lucky, at 90 for pencils and inks. So we worked out a deal for, I'll tell you what the price was. It was $325 a page, and I handled everything. So I paid the colorist out of that too, and I over delivered on everything.
Nice.
Yeah. So constant communication, all that. But that essentially is what it's going to cost you. So if you're even interested in producing a comic book on your own, if you're a writer and interested in producing a comic, this is the bare minimum, like that of investment that it would take to create the quality that you see there. So I think I am a very capable artist. I feel like that if the requirement was in place, I can definitely survive with any big major company, you know? So
yeah.
Usually where I cut corners is like based on budget. Every time the budget lowers, I have to make the work quicker, so it saves me time, or I prolong the work because I have to do quicker projects that take me little time, so I could pay overhead, like living in New York and just surviving. So, those are sacrifices that a comic producer has to consider. Every time you cut corners, if you want to lower your budget, you're making sacrifices. The project is going to take you a full year for 30 pages, you know, because somebody's got to, you know, like you got to make sacrifices somewhere. So, and you can't badger artists for working quicker when you're not paying them enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing that you gotta keep in mind. It's you know, you can't ask for speed when you're not paying to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
one other thing with the contract is because I reduced it from the like a higher average of mainstream rate, I also get 20% of backend. But currently the comics are free on the website, so you can imagine how much I make. So the back end, this is something that I include in It's a Living. The back end is a strategic thing that it's a negotiation strategy, so you can win the project essentially. But it's very unlikely that for an independent publisher that they will succeed to a great enough level to give you kickback, you know, or to, even if they do, they're going to forget about you in like a year. They're going to go to a convention, make a few sales, and they're not going to send you a check for like, you know, $50, $100. Although Doug did do that through the conventions that he went through. But now he's just kind of trying to market it to have readership. So,
right.
So that's strategy. So most of my projects, I always have a back end whenever I reduce the rate. I tell them like, this is the industry rate. And then every time it's like pretty much a percentage for every, you know, $25 you reduce. But it's just a strategy to, you know, for the client to see the savings and to win them on your side.
Okay. Well, we're at the half hour, so you know, maybe I'm sure other stuff that we talked about getting into, we'll get into from the questions.
Okay, that went fast.
Yeah, I know, right? I really wasn't expecting that, but yeah, I guess we could do this sort of like what we would do in person. If you have a question, just turn your camera on and raise your hand. And you know, we don't have a huge group here, so I'm sure we'll. Okay, yeah, Graham, go for it.
Hello. Hey, Christian.
Hi, Graham.
Earlier you said that you over delivered on everything. And then you said, constant contact, all of that. What constitutes over delivering for you?
Well, that's a great question. And I can answer it. Over delivering is, well, one, you can't complain when they ask you things. But I was lucky with this particular client. He's pretty much my best client and friend. I actually visited him in Canada and they hosted me. It was like, it was totally friendly. But he's really nice. So it's like if he asks for changes on something, he's like apologetic. I think partially because he's Canadian, he's extra nice, but he's considerate. And I have other clients that are like that, and it means so much when they give you a compliment, and they go like, I hope it's okay. It's like, it's such a nice feeling when they're apologizing for changes that you have to make, even though they're paying you, So, but even when they're rude, I actually had a really terrible client the last few weeks, and I think it ended yesterday. And I think I'm not going to get paid for what I actually, the rest of what I gave him. He just disappeared. But he was extremely verbally abusive, and it was so difficult not to engage him into these he's like just trying to draw me out, writing like, every polite update. Thank you for your patience. Here's your update, sir. He would follow it up with like 5 messages with capital letters. And at one point I made the mistake of saying, sir, when you write all in capital, it gives the reader the indication that you're screaming at them. At which point he followed it up with 5 more messages that were just as severe. He's never given a compliment so it was like a hellish project. And it was actually a hell. I can't. So, so over delivering with that project. Well, I mean, it's overperforming on the art. So I try to make it look extra good. Like I put in extra hours. I mean, each page takes me, between 5 and 10 hours. You pencil it, but everything ends up stretching to the 10-hour mark because of the communication back and forth. You hand in work, you communicate, sometimes you talk to them on the phone, and you just gotta build a reputation to be able to filter to get good clients. And when you get them, be thankful for them. And then communication and prolonged projects are not painful, So really, that's the only thing you could do. But I perform. But he's also very good because he sees that I perform, and I don't charge him for certain things, but other things I do. Like if I have to edit, I didn't charge him for the script editing, So, because I'm just trying to improve it, and he offers to pay, but I say no, it's okay, because I know the project's coming, and then with each issue I raise it a small inflation percentage. I alter the contract, and so I over deliver in the quality and the time that I spend. I don't rush anything. I care about it. I make it my priority. And the challenge as a freelancer when you're still doing other projects is that you have to do that with everyone, even the bad ones. Like even this client that was absolute hell. I spent all of yesterday to wrap up the first part of his project. And I think I think it was satisfactory because he disappeared and he hasn't paid me for the second part. So, which I already delivered.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, this is when you over deliver. Sorry, I just want to add
No,
this.
go for it. Yeah.
There's still a part. Today was such a kind of vibey day because I know he's like off the grid, and I made a special note for myself that I was going to deliver that, delete the milestone because I kind of didn't even want it, like the milestone invoice, because I was almost afraid that he would make the escrow deposit and I would have more hassle trying to refund him and not want to work with him, you know, because it was so, even though I did the work. So it was a little kind of, I had a weird fuzzy vibe today because I was like, you know, but I vowed to like non-message him. So I did really well to not engage him and message him and be desperate about like the money. But the good thing was last night after I delivered that, this client that I overperformed on pays really well. He's new, like in the last month. He literally on Upwork sent me, I think, a list of like 6 new projects with milestones, each for a few $100s each, and that's good money for me as an illustrator. And that just came in, and I thought, like, you know, hey, I got rid of that bad client, but the universe is looking out for me, you know. So I think you just got to stay positive, and you got to like perform well, and you know, 1 in 10 is going to be an asshole, and the least they pay, the more they expect. Typically, it's not always the case. Some are really apologetic and like and they give you time and they never message you and they trust you, and that's nice. But if you don't know them, if you hadn't built the relationship, they're usually assholes.
Well, we've got a question from Paul in the chat. Is the script of the comic given to you before you begin the work so you can envision what the customer wants?
Oh, that's a great question. Typically I do get the script before, but sometimes you bid online on projects, like, because I'm on, and I write about this in It's a Living. I'm on Guru, I'm on Freelancer and Upwork currently. So the tough client recently was for storyboarding, and I didn't see the script until he awarded the project. You know, I asked for the script, but I think people do this on purpose. You know, they want you to agree to a scenario, and then they hold you accountable for it. And then I see the script, and it was like it was an absolute piece of shit. And I try to show him, like, I try to do it well for him at the beginning, and he couldn't see how good these first couple of shots were. I think, you know, sometimes I think I'm smart and I act smart, and stupid people catch on and they get offended. So it's one of my character flaws. But yeah, it was I got that afterward, and one of his last rants was like, he's like, when you bid on the project, you said that you were going to complete the first milestone at this, and then the second one at that. Well, first of all, he awarded it like 5 days past, you know, when I actually bid. You know, those dates were relevant only if you selected me within the hour of when I bid. You know. Yeah. And then secondly, his first message to me was in giant capital letters: "Take all the time you want." And then so when I do, 2 days later, what do you got for me? How about now? You ready now? How about now? So, it was hell. Anyway, 1 in 10.
Yes. We've got another question from, apologies if I'm mispronouncing this, Jay Zucaro. Can you talk a little bit about creating a Kickstarting campaign or any other methods you could recommend to raise money for self-publishing a comic?
Again, that's a great question. I have very little experience with campaigns. I've only fundraised for one campaign, and it was not a comic. It was my short live action film. And it was several years ago. 2015. It was in Las Vegas, and it was Indiegogo. We aimed to raise 10,000, but we only raised 2, and I put in another 2 to make the film happen.
Right.
It was a 10-minute film. So what I know from that experience, and I write about it in the book, is that most of your contributions come from direct engagement, in my case especially. So, all the contributions were from clients of mine or friends of mine that I messaged individually on Facebook or by email, and I addressed them by name. I never just kind of posted on Facebook for no reason. Well, I did share it, but I always followed it up with a sincere message. I reference our relationship. I reference the last time we spoke about certain topics. I check up on them. So it's like it's a thing. Some parts of it of the message become formal, because it's kind of like it's a sales letter.
Yeah.
But it's really a template, and everything was from direct engagement. So that was my experience. It was direct engagement. I may do another fundraiser in the future, but I'm strategizing now because I'm writing a new book, and I'm strategizing how to release it. So I'm still thinking about that. But that's my only experience, was to produce the film.
Okay. Oh, Andre has a question.
Yes.
Hey, Christian.
How you doing?
I had a on that note, you mentioned you're writing a new book. With all these COVID concerns and things of that nature, and cons being canceled, to say the least, for the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
What is your primary marketing strategy? Are you trying to work with like print direct or strictly digital? What is kind of like your plan? Because I've gone back and forth with quite a few things over this past year. That some have been successful for me, some have not. What exactly is your plan going forward with the COVID concerns?
I just
Well,
want to say real quick, Christian, I want to thank Andre for asking that, because I had a COVID related question too, and I had to cut it out for time. So thank you.
okay, yeah, because yeah, good call. In terms, well, okay, with COVID first. With COVID, my lifestyle hasn't changed so much as a freelance artist. Everything's online for me. The only thing that I miss is going to meet people in person. Like, I love to network in person, and just, you know, that's, but you have your own community. So I think for an artist, if you're in business for yourself, then not much should change. I mean, people still need content, and they still want to read things. A lot of experiences are now changed to online, so there's more downloads. I feel like that the downloads are a compromise a bit, because people want hard copies. But if you set up those like Kickstarters or Patreons in the right way, where you do mail outs, because I've that's one of the researches that I've done, is I've seen some Patreons where they do monthly mail outs for a certain fee, whether it's a book, whether it's like greeting cards or giclée prints, or a variety of things. And those could be good. And that's what I'm debating. I feel with NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month in November, I'm planning to finish my first draft of this new project. So my plans are kind of the way I plan to market it is, it's just in my head right now, and some notes on paper based on like a variety of research. But the way I'm thinking it might work. So this is, I'm brainstorming to the public now. The way I'm visualizing it is, I thought if I do the first draft, do a pass after, and then the third draft, I serialize on Patreon, and potentially if and then tease it on a couple of other, like maybe up to 5 major writing sites. So I tease it to the Patreon, and then at the Patreon, I have regular updates of edited chapters, and then I offer different packages of tutorials. Sorry, you might start to hear some noise here in my neighborhood.
It's okay.
Um,
Adds
so-
atmosphere.
Yeah, atmosphere. So so I could package other products and tutorials, because during the COVID, I pivoted because my plan this year was to push on the screenplays, because I wrote 2 feature film screenplays in pretty much during the time that I was writing It's a Living in the past 3 years. So I was really going to push for a feature, but I pivoted to reignite my online courses during this time. So my plan now is to have a fiction that I serialize through Patreon, and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
yeah.
Well. If you find it, we could get back to that. But I do want to see if anyone else has any other questions.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I missed any in the chat. I think I'm caught up in the chat questions. But anyone want to raise their hand with a question? Okay, let me double check the chat. I feel. Oh yeah, go for it, Cristian.
Yeah. So at this point, is all of your income coming from commissions and artwork, or do you have like a day job as well, or some form of employment that's not connected to comics illustration?
It's all from freelancing. Oh, and I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so it was like serializing the comic and offering tutorials as part of tiers, because since I've reignited the art school. So all my income is as a freelancer.
Oh.
I do commissions. When I was in Canada before I left, I had a brick and mortar school. I had a deal with the location, so I wasn't on a lease, which was good. I didn't have that pressure, and then I had seasonal classes that were biggest in the fall, and then I had a contract with a camp where it was like an athletic camp and / cartooning, and I handled the cartooning component through the summer and an after school program. And essentially I taught for about, 2 or 3 days, weeknights a week, and Saturday mornings privately. But when I moved to Las Vegas, because I was actually waiting for a green card, I had to keep my work. I can't admit that I worked online during that process, but I was making residual income from courses. So I began to record some courses online, and so I was making residual income from that. When I moved to New York, and then actually at the end of Las Vegas, before moving to New York, because I taught briefly at a college out there, but I really didn't like the scenario, and because I hadn't completed my bachelor's and I didn't have a master's, it was impossible for me to ever get tenured or more than 1 or 2 classes a year. And I figured I could just make more money teaching less and commuting less by offering private classes. And within a couple of days, I had like 3 students, and I was making more money. So so I started doing that. But then when I moved to New York, I tried to offer online classes, but like now I just like, I work from home. So I had a couple of, I had one adult that came a couple of times, but it's like, I kind of just like having my private space. And then, and I taught a couple of people at a nearby community bookstore that was, it was kind of, just kind of privately. Now I mentor. I have one mentor that I'm helping with, as a protege that I'm helping with a manga that he's like a webtoon that he's trying to develop. So I mentor him on a weekly basis.
Nice.
So my income is all from either freelancing. So I do illustration commissions through projects that I win on Upwork, Guru, less so freelancer because Upwork and Guru have like better scrutiny for the clients that post there. And what else? Oh, I have residual income from the courses, which it's like it's a couple of hundred a month, and t-shirt designs that I have on a couple of websites like Redbubble. So I'm trying to grow that, and that's what I talk about, write about in the book. Is like the ideal is to grow the IP, but it's sometimes when you're doing it all yourself and you don't have that initial capital, it's a juggling act while you're trying to fulfill lots of commissions to just make a living, and then develop your own IP. That at some point something can take off, and you can get a large number of sales, can justify then maybe advertising that one item a little bit more to get more sales, and have more freedom in what you turn down.
Nice. Okay, we have a little bit more time left. Do we have any other questions? We got like 5 minutes left.
So I was hoping I could ask a quick question, and I know it might take some more time for you to explain the whole process, but I thought it would be fun if you could maybe talk about your brainstorming process. I think earlier in this chat, I asked, well, what's a good topic that you think would attract, would make a good comic or a good story? And someone said, well, pandemic. And I'm sure everyone's thinking pandemic, and that's good. It's great, if you jump on it and do it. But, like, I was just hoping you could, talk about when you're talking with other people and you're trying to come up with a good story, or try to, make a hitch on a good story. How do you do that? If you could, something that helps you be creative and say, hey, this is great, or this is not so great.
This is a really unique, great question, Paul. And I actually have an answer for that, because sometimes this kind of answer can be very abstract, and it's like, where do you get your ideas, like, yeah. So, but I labored over this a lot earlier this year. One, I do a business plan for myself I do a personal plan about every 5 years. And every 2 years I reevaluate what's working, what's not. And I actually write out a business plan. And one of the things that was in my personal goals was to write 5 stories, not necessarily publish them within 5 years. And so that's why I'm writing another book, is just to meet my personal goals. And in that process, I was weighing like whether I want to do a comic, like printed, produce it, and then but I felt like if I produce a comic, it's good to tease it. I did the Instagram comic, which I just kind of don't feel like doing that again, like in the same way. And then I did a lot of research on webtoons, and it was, what I found out was this: it's extremely demanding, and the workload scares me beyond belief. It's unless you complete all the work, months in advance, and then you can keep a rigorous schedule because it'll catch up to you, to feed the demand of the audience there, and to also promote while you're doing that, because you won't have an audience initially. it's staggering. It felt like. Also, I felt, and I actually tested this in my sketchbook. I thought, like, if I write another Big Boss installment, I would have to change the way he looks so it appeals to the audience. So he would have to be in a manga style. And I did a number of sketches that way to see if I was comfortable. I think at some point I'd have, if I was to do it, it would taper off. The style would eventually become mine again. It would I would draw them in with a certain look, and then eventually, hopefully they will all be comfortable with the way I naturally draw, because things will change back. I don't think I could sustain it. But what I found out in terms of demographics was that it's easy to find out for yourself too. You look at their top 10s, and that site actually tells you the age and the sex of the demographic in the top 10s. So you see the top 10s most popular, 8 out of the 10 are romance, and then it shows you the age. So I mean, I think it shows you sex, but otherwise I'm sexist in assuming that they're female. But I believe it does show, like, whether it's boys or girls. But the age groups are 13 to 20 and then 20 to 25. That's like, those ages are the readers of the most popular webtoons on webtoons.com and several other sites, because you could see a lot of romance. So I looked at literature too, because then I realized that drawing so much and writing, in that setting is so demanding. So I looked at just writing, because I kind of, by the end of It's a Living, I feel like I began to get very comfortable with my voice, and I would love to write a nonfiction. So then other sites like Smash Words or something like that. There's several popular sites for nonfiction, well, for fiction and nonfiction, similar to the way Webtoons is. And again, the most popular genres, the most amount of readers are women that read voraciously. More young women, it seems, read online content than young men. So then, having learned that, and then deciding, I've narrowed it down that I'm going to write a fiction, I worked another couple of months between things, drafting up different scenarios and outlines. So I guess I'm writing a romance. No, but the way I feel like my strategy is to start it like that. I don't know if anybody's of my generation to have seen this film called True Romance. Anybody? No? Okay. It was written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott. Phenomenal film, like high rating on IMDb. And I read the screenplay of it a couple of years ago. I had seen it years ago, but then 2 years ago, as I was like writing screenplays, I had sat down and read the screenplay. And I feel like this is what I'm writing, essentially, is I'm kind of, my plan is to begin it kind of like a romance, and kind of draw some readers in and then add action. So it's like I'm combining genres. And that's my strategy, because I have to, and then I'm adding dialogue that I'm interested in, like hopefully some philosophical ideas. I have a good friend that is very smart, and we have intellectual conversations. So if I can ingest some of those subjects into the characters' mouths, it'd be fulfilling for me. So some of my interests will come across through there, but my plan is to work within a genre that's there's a demand for, and make it my own. So combine genres, but like, I mean, I need to get a new audience.
Yeah, that's a clever approach. I like that. That's really good.
Yeah, so that's been my whole process. Thank you. And then I've been kind of stagnating. I started to write the first chapter. I'm having all sorts of freaking doubts, like I think it's too boring or something like that. I'm trying not to go back. And now that NaNoWriMo is coming up, I just today got an accountability buddy from one of the other meetups that we write every morning from 7 to 9. So,
Nice.
so I have the accountability person, and so I'm going to do it. I'm going to write that friggin' first draft now, because my goal was, and I also write schedules for myself. So my goal was to finish it before December, so that I could edit in December and launch it in the new year. So, keeps me going.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to leave off. And even if it wasn't, we're actually running out of time. So before I let you guys go, can we all give a big hand for Cristian? Turn your mics on so we could hear it.
Thank you very much, Cristian. Thank you very much, Greg, for doing the interview. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody enjoyed it.
Thank you.
My name is Ramon Gill. I am the organizer of this group. I just want you guys to know also that we're beginning to post some of the previous interviews on comicartsworkshop.com. So it's not on this meetup page, on the meetup page, but it's on the separate website, comicarts.com, no, comicartsworkshop.com, on the blog.
Nice.
Also, just this past, not this past weekend, but the weekend before last, we had our Diversity Comic Con, and you can see a lot of the panel discussions. I think, Paul, could you mute? Who's that?
Sorry.
This 2 weekends ago, we had Diversity Comic Con, and we still have, and a lot of the panel discussions and Q&As are still on the website. You can watch it either on YouTube or on Google. If you go to the website, diversitycomiccon.com, you can find links to everything there. We had a lot of great events that weekend. We had DC Comics come in with their own panel. We had Scholastic. We had Random House, First Second. We had a lot of good stuff. So check that out as well. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for coming out. And next month we have David Campiti. David Campiti is a veteran of the DC Marvel industry, and he now runs a company. And what he does is he packages. He basically a comic book company approaches him. Hey, we have this comic book. We need somebody to just take care of it. We either give you the art, and you just take it and run with it, and you design it, you letter it, you color it, and give it back to us finished. And that's what his company does. So I think there'll be a lot of good insights from him on how the comic book industry works. So that's next month. I don't remember exact date, but it's on the meetup page.
And could I add,
Sure.
Ramon, if anybody wants to reach out to me for any other questions, or I can send you a link to my book on Amazon or something, but just any questions at all, like freelancing, anything.
I think, Cristian,
feel free to add me to like Facebook or something.
And Cristian, you also have some lessons. Is it on, where do you have, is it Udemy or?
Yeah, I have online courses on Udemy that can be found through masterpieceartschool.com. There are links to each of the courses there.
Cristian, you want to put your links in the chat so people can go right to it?
Oh, well, I can do that. Yeah, in the general chat. I see there's like some messages there. So I don't know. I can go through them afterward if you guys like. If there were questions in there.
I'm gonna put my little social media thing on in here too. If any of you guys want to find me. I'm always posting different articles I'm writing and stuff.
Yeah, if you go to Greg, do you have your own website? Or is everything on the beat?
No. I have my own website. The thing is, I haven't updated it in a while because this is gonna sound like a brag, but I swear. No, hear me out. Hear me out. This is gonna sound like a brag, but I publish so many articles so frequently that if I had everything on my website, it would straight up look obnoxious. This is not a brag. This is just the truth. I write a lot for a lot of places. So if you want to find me, honestly, I do go to gregorypaulsilber.com/portfolio for kind of like a basic overview of some places I've written. I will update it, Ramon. I promise. That said, I cannot, without looking completely insane and obnoxious, have everything there. So just find me on Twitter.
You should. You should. I mean, it's
should I?
Yeah, it's your work history.
I say no. I'm
Ramon. They're literally gonna be like hundreds of articles there if I do that.
No. See, I do the.
Or maybe your
opposite.
best ones then.
No, I would say I recently switched to like a one-page website. So if you go to csa1.ca, it's like one page. I only list like two of my graphic novels and my book. And I don't know if people are curious, they could like find me in other places. I got portfolios all over. So it's like I think the days of like big giant websites with like an archive of things are long gone unless you're actually a database. But that's just my opinion.
I'd love to talk to you sometime, Cristian, about like where you put all your stuff, because I'm very much still clearly still figuring out where to put all the stuff that I've done.
I just burn it.
One last announcement. After Diversity Comic Con, we held an online after party using a service called Kumo Space, and it was a lot of fun. People were on there. People were planning to be on there for a few minutes, and they ended up staying 2 or 3 hours talking to people. So we are going to be hosting a virtual holiday party. We always have a holiday party with this group, and because of COVID, we can't do a regular holiday party. So we're going to be doing it online. So sometime in mid-December, we're going to have. I'm trying to get one more speaker in before the year ends after David Campiti, and then we'll have a holiday party. So just stay tuned on the meetup page for that, okay? So anyways, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you again, Cristian, and thank you, Greg, and thank you for all you guys for coming in and taking part.
Thank you, Ramon. And everyone, please go to the chat to find links to Cristian's work, and I throw in my links too. So
Copy paste that what's on the chat now, because once I close the window, that's all gonna disappear.
Yeah, do it.
And if there were questions there, again, like you could just add me to Facebook or something and message me, and I'm happy to answer things.
Cool. Have a great night, everyone.
Cheers. It was so fun. Thank you. Thanks again, Ramon and Greg and everyone for the questions.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Greg and Cristian.
Thank you for coming.
Ramon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we going to the other?
Yeah, we're gonna do the other.
Are we going to the other chat now?
Yeah. No, not until 9.
The other.
Not until 9 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you then. Bye bye.
All right. All right. Bye.